Revenge with Anjo.
The morning sunlight poured through the thin curtains, painting golden stripes across the living room floor. Amelia Warren sat on the sofa, half-dressed for work, coffee growing cold beside her. Her phone buzzed on the table, a calendar notification lighting up the screen. She picked it up absently and froze. The words blinked in bold letters. Wedding, June 21st, Sophie and Daniel. Her throat tightened. That was her wedding date. Her sister Sophie had chosen the exact same day. For a long minute, Amelia just stared at the glowing reminder, unable to move. When she finally answered Sophie's incoming call, the voice on the other end was dripping with feigned innocence. "Oh, Amelia, I didn't realize. But since yours is just a small event, I'm sure it won't matter, right?" The line went quiet as Amelia pressed her lips together. Her sister knew exactly what she was doing. Amelia was 28, steady and organized, the kind of woman who built her life in spreadsheets and timelines. Sophie, 2 years older, was the opposite, spontaneous, magnetic, and dangerously aware of her own charm. Their parents adore her, of course. They always had. Growing up, Sophie had been the family's golden child, while Amelia existed somewhere in the background, quietly reliable, perpetually overlooked. Family photos made it obvious. Sophie's smile gleamed front and center, her parents' arms wrapped around her. Amelia stood at the edge, always slightly out of focus. Even her achievements were brushed aside. When she graduated with top honors, her father's only remark was, "You've always followed in Sophie's footsteps well." Her mother used to tell friends, "Sophie lights up every room she walks into." No one ever said what Amelia brought, stability, perhaps, or silence. That was the role she learned to play. So when she met Marcus, she'd been stunned that someone like him even noticed her. He was gentle, confident, and curious about her thoughts. They'd met at a finance workshop, both reaching for the same notebook left on a table. "Yours?" he'd asked, smiling. "Only if you insist," she'd replied, blushing. They'd laughed, and that small moment turned into hours of conversation, and eventually love. 2 years later, when Marcus proposed under a rain-slicked canopy of city lights, Amelia had cried, not just because she was happy, but because she couldn't believe it was real. "Are you sure?" she'd whispered. He'd grinned. "I've never been sure about anything." His family embraced her instantly. His mother, Helen, called her the calm in the storm. His father, Robert, who managed a large tech company, often joked that Marcus had inherited his luck. For the first time in her life, Amelia felt chosen, not compared. When she invited her parents to dinner to share the engagement news, she'd hoped, foolishly, for pride. Instead, her mother had spent most of the evening talking about Sophie's promotion at her fashion company. Her father, as usual, nodded along. Afterward, Helen took Amelia's hand. "You handled that beautifully," she said softly. "Some families don't know how to celebrate quiet strength." Amelia smiled, but inside, something cracked, a small reminder that her own family would never change. Weeks later, Sophie's message arrived. A digital invitation in shimmering gold script. Amelia had opened it expecting a save the date, and instead, she'd found the duplicate of her own. She called immediately. "You chose the same date," she said flatly. "Oh no." Sophie gasped, all mock surprise. "I didn't realize. But since your wedding is so intimate, I'm sure our guests won't overlap. You're okay with that, right?" Amelia's pulse thudded in her ears. "You did this on purpose." "Relax," Sophie purred. "Not everything's about you." For the first time in her life, Amelia hung up on her sister. That night, she sat on the bed staring at the calendar. Marcus came in, towel draped around his shoulders. "You look like someone just died," he said gently. Amelia handed him her phone. "Sophie's wedding date." He frowned. "Can we change ours?" "The venue's booked for 18 months. We'd lose the deposit, $30,000. Marcus exhaled sharply. "Then we keep it. If your family chooses her, fine. We'll celebrate with the people who truly love you." For the first time that day, Amelia smiled. You mean your family? He grinned. My family and yours, the one we'll build. Over the next 2 months, Amelia worked tirelessly, channeling her pain into planning. Every flower, every song, every detail became a statement of independence. She refused to let her sister's spite define her day. The morning of June 21st dawned bright and golden. In the bridal suite, Amelia sat before the mirror in her ivory gown, fingers trembling slightly. Her reflection looked calm, but her heart raced. The door opened. Helen peeked in, radiant. Sweetheart, you should see the crowd. Nearly 200 people. Even the CEO of Orion Tech is here. Amelia blinked. Dad invited them? Helen smiled. Your father-in-law, dear. And Orion Tech happens to be the company where Sophie's fiancé works. The ceremony unfolded like a dream, sunlight spilling across marble floors, violins weaving through the air. The reception shimmered with laughter and light. As Amelia and Marcus danced, she finally felt something she'd never known, joy without apology. Then she saw them. Sophie, her fiancé Adam, and her parents, standing awkwardly near the doorway. Marcus noticed too. Do you want me to? No, Amelia said, her voice steady. I've got this. She smoothed her gown, lifted her chin, and walked toward them. Sophie's face was tight with disbelief. What is this? She hissed. You said it was a small wedding. Amelia's smile didn't waver. Plans change. Her parents exchanged nervous looks. Adam, however, looked pale. His eyes darted around the room. Why are all the Orion Tech executives here? He whispered. Half of them canceled on us this morning. Amelia tilted her head. Really? That's odd. Maybe they preferred to attend when the president's son was getting married. Adam's mouth fell open. President? You mean your father-in-law? Robert Lawson, Amelia said simply. Adam turned white just as Robert himself appeared behind her. It's good to see you, Robert said to the stunned group, voice polite but cold. Though I didn't expect you at this wedding, given your scheduling choices. Her mother blushed. We didn't mean. Robert's gaze sharpened. You didn't mean to attend your other daughter's ceremony instead? Understandable. Loyalty can be confusing when it's selective. The silence that followed was electric. Sophie's face reddened. You're making a scene, she snapped. Amelia met her gaze calmly. No, Sophie. I'm ending one. At her signal, 2 attendants stepped forward. Would you please escort our unexpected guests out? She said softly. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. Amelia, please. Amelia's voice trembled but held. You made your choice. I'm making mine. As Sophie and her entourage were led out, her gown brushed the polished floor like a ghost fading from view. When the doors closed, Marcus slipped beside her, squeezing her hand. You okay? She nodded slowly. For the first time, yes. The music swelled again. Guests resumed dancing, laughter echoing through the hall. For the first time in years, Amelia felt like she belonged in her own story. 3 weeks later, after their honeymoon in Santorini, news began to spread. Sophie's wedding had collapsed spectacularly. Half the guests hadn't shown up, including every Orion Tech employee. An internal email had circulated about a mandatory leadership summit that day, orchestrated quietly by Robert. Adam had been furious. He'd blamed Sophie for the embarrassment and financial loss. Their relationship ended in a shouting match that made social media rounds. Amelia read the gossip on her phone one evening, sipping tea. She felt no glee, only finality. When Marcus came in, she handed him the screen. He raised an eyebrow. Your sister's wedding meltdown? She nodded. I didn't expect it to feel like this. How does it feel? Peaceful, she said softly. Her parents tried calling twice after that, but Amelia didn't answer. She sent them a short message instead, polite but firm. I wish you well, but I've chosen distance. Please respect it. They never replied. And that silence, strangely enough, was the most honest conversation they'd ever had. Months passed. Amelia and Marcus built their new life with quiet joy, morning coffees, shared laughter, Late night talks about their dreams. She sometimes thought about Sophie, back at their parents' house, rebuilding whatever pieces she could. But the ache was gone. The need for approval had finally died. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Amelia scrolled back to that old calendar notification, the one that had once ruined her morning. She deleted it with a small smile. It hadn't ruined anything. It had set her free.